time for the Colonel to get a Recluse auto clutch, because, you know, manual transmissions and clutches are great, but semi-automatic ones make things a lot easier for rowdy off-roading. So this is just a beautiful billet clutch cover, which you'll be able to see it through a little bit in there.
Ooh,
if you look through the grill. Yeah, same color. I like how they make the instructions like hot pink so you can't ignore them, because most people would, myself included. We've just got a new pack of clutch plates here, and this one, which is an expansion plate, so it just works on the speed of the engine. When you rev it up, it expands and engages the clutch for you. You can still use the clutch just the same as you would normally if you want to, but this just makes it so that you can like slam on the brakes and come to a stop and not stall it, which is super handy, especially if we're like pulling a trailer and all of that stuff. It'll be very handy for that. And unfortunately, to get that cover off of the engine, I'm gonna have to at least loosen this whole front chunk of frame. With a little bit of finagling, I got the old clutch cover off, and I have no idea what this is for, but it's there. It's a little metal thing that's bolted into the inside of the cover for no apparent reason. The new Recluse one does not have that. It's also noticeably lighter, probably because it's billet instead of cast. Now I just have to soak these clutch plates in oil, the friction plates, before assembling it. So I'm going to use the old clutch cover as a little clutch plate soaking trough. I'm actually reading instructions, believe it or not. And the instructions say that because there's so many plates in this, there can be slight variations in how thick it ends up once you stack them all up. And so they send you an extra drive plate that's thicker. So you have to stack it all up, measure it, and then determine, based on the measurement, whether you need the thick drive plate or one of the standard ones. I'm gonna work on the additional radiator up front. I've got the radiator trimmed up and the grill trimmed up such that it all fits in there. Finagle it just right, with a little bit of room to spare so it's not straight up touching the grill. So without the grill on there, it'll go something like that. And now what I need to do is make some elbows and weld onto there. So I got the new inlet and outlet welded onto the radiator, got all the holes covered up, plugged up. I ended up finding an elbow on something in the scrap pile, so I didn't have to make one, which saved a lot of time. So that'll go right there. I just disconnected this hose from here and rotated the thermostat housing out a little bit, so that fits right nice into there. And on a side note, that is a bell housing, flywheel, and clutch for the 2J mower. So a lot of you guys are asking about that. It's coming. Well, I think that's a front mount radiator added in. We got 2 radiators now, not twice the cooling, but you know, a significant increase. Just finished bleeding the coolant system, and I'm just putting the grill back on. So next up, we got some mineral oil. Apparently, you can just use like average mineral oil from the grocery store. It's basically the same, according to the interwebs. So then I'll bleed the slave cylinder, install it, and we'll test out the Recluse. The first test is just breaking it in. So we're just gonna drive up and down the driveway a few times, just accelerating smoothly and then letting off and accelerating and letting off. Then we'll see how it does off-road. I love Ethan's idea of breaking things in. So that was a bunch in first gear. Now we'll do a couple of second gear pulls. Stop, accelerate a little bit, stop, accelerate, and then we should be good to drive it around and test it more thoroughly. You can see how well this thing stops too. I noticed that when we were filming the full send video. I was actually riding behind Ethan on a quad with the GoPro on my helmet, and the quad is the same diffs and the same brakes and everything, right? But that thing has so much more grip with those tires, and the weight distribution's so good. It stops way faster than the quad. It's really nice. And these tires are smaller, which means the brakes have more leverage on them. Yeah. Right, so the brake rotors are the same size, tires are smaller diameter, it means the brakes are going to be more effective. And also I have much more engine braking because I've got a bigger engine and a manual transmission instead of, you know, a CVT where, I mean, CVTs kind of have engine braking, but not. The Recluse is broken in, and this environment, crawling around, is really where the semi-automatic clutch is going to come in handy. Wow. And there you go. That probably would have been a situation where it stalled and no way. I want to go over this pile of logs, but I'm going to have to hit it at a different angle because there's no exit. I don't even know if we'll have an obstacle challenging enough to really push it to the limit here. We think we found an obstacle worthy of the Hurricane. This is basically a wall with a big root and some big rocks in it, with no run up. It should be good. A little too steep for that one.
She made it to the pond.
Yeah, that was fun. Especially with the Recluse, this thing's so like comfortable and controllable. Like obviously you could tip it over on that hill, but because you don't have to worry about pulling in the clutch at the right moment or whatever, like if it starts to lean back, you just let off and you roll back down. Well, I think that was a great success again. The radiators definitely seem to be doing a better job of keeping it cool now with 2 of them. Even in all of this slow technical stuff where it's not getting much airflow, it's helping out quite a bit. And more importantly, the Recluse clutch is perfect. Like, this thing's definitely faster than you'd want it to be in first gear for anything remotely, you know, technical like this, but it just doesn't matter so much anymore. Obviously the trade-off is you'd eventually burn up the clutch a lot quicker, but you know, the gearing in this thing isn't easy to change, so it's a trade-off that's worthwhile.